Hi, and welcome to Not Dead Yet's Film and TV Weekly Roundup.
Yeah.
I'm Dan.
I'm Lee.
And we're going to talk to you about what we've watched, what we've seen this week, anything that we think's good. So, one of the things that we said we were going to do last week is that we decided that we would watch a TV show together, and it's a Netflix original TV show. And so we decided that we would watch Bloodline. So I watched it last night, the first episode, and you've watched it already, yeah?
I watched it earlier in the week, yeah.
Okay, so what did you think?
I struggle with these big American shows. I know we've had a conversation about another show in the past, whereas I feel that on a first episode, I think it has to grab you. I don't feel I should invest in something if you can't grab me straight away. That's how I feel. That's why I...
Yeah, I like things that don't do that.
So it's kind of like I could be watching something I like rather than dedicating time to something, you know. So this is good for me to watch these, because I always come onto these shows way late, years late.
I know.
Years late. You know, I still haven't watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, people look at me like I've just beaten a child. Yeah. So I kind of enjoyed it. I felt simple. So do you want to describe what it's about?
Yeah, we can't talk too much about it. I don't want to give anything away for people that haven't watched it.
So it's a family.
Yeah,
it's a family, and they go to an island. The mum and dad have this property on an island. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they're in the Florida Keys, I think.
And there's 3 boys and a girl.
Yeah,
and there seems to be one of the sons, the oldest son.
Yeah,
you know,
there's some mystery around.
Yeah, mystery, black sheep mystery type thing.
Yeah, and I think let's just talk about so it's starring Kyle Chandler, who, if you've watched Friday Night Lights, you'll know him as Coach Taylor. You haven't watched Friday Night Lights. I only watched it maybe last year. I watched all of it in about a month. Really, really enjoyed that, and he's great in Friday Night Lights. And it's quite a different role for him here, because he was a little bit... You could tell that he was a strong guy, he's not a pushover.
No.
But he was a little bit submissive in certain situations, or a little bit passive in certain situations, which is really different to the character that he played in Friday Night Lights, where he was like a real sort of... He got things done, and, you know, he's the coach, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a little different.
He's likeable, he's nice.
Yeah,
he's nice.
But he was always likeable in Friday Night Lights as well. He wasn't... But he was the boss, do you know what I mean? So... and it also has... Now... Animal Kingdom's an Australian film. You and I watched that. I'd already watched that and introduced Lee to that.
Very good.
It's a really, really good film, and it's loosely based on a true family in Melbourne in Australia, and they're a kind of criminal family.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, one of the brothers in that family is played by Ben Mendelsohn. He's also in Bloodline. And in that film, in Animal Kingdom, he is incredibly unnervingly creepy.
Yeah.
And scary.
Yeah.
And he's kind of carried that over here.
There's darkness to him, isn't there?
But he's excellent at that. I mean,
yeah.
They really, really hammer that home in this show in Bloodline. You know,
straight away.
There's a lot of references made to the fact that he's problematic.
Yeah.
And the things that they show you about him. There's a real tension to every scene that he's in that first episode.
Absolutely.
Where you're kind of like, what is happening here? I don't know. Something bad is going to happen. There's a real foreboding about him.
I really liked him.
Yeah.
It's sort of... I really liked him and felt for him, and you know...
Really?
But no, I kind of...
I'm not sure I felt sympathy for him.
I kind of wanted to look after him.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't have that reaction, but I think that's maybe because I was just so terrified about what he's going to do, because it's just menace oozing from him.
Like I kind of, you know, I watched it. And I kind of I felt for him a little bit. I kind of wanted to, you know, look after him.
Yeah.
Sort of. I don't know, that sort of. Yeah, I had that vibe, and you can tell that he's not liked.
No, but I guess you're absolutely right. Yeah. I think that his family have a difficult relationship with him. It's gonna be I think there's reasons for that, and we're just not privy to that information at the moment.
Yeah, of course.
I really liked the fact that I think, in sort of contradiction to what you were saying, the fact that they withheld a lot of that stuff, I really enjoyed that, because it set up loads of questions for me, and I want to know those answers now.
I mean, the only thing that I didn't like, it kind of then backtrack on why I don't watch these programs necessarily. They had future clips.
Yeah, but I didn't.
I was kind of like, no, is it needed? Obviously, they're trying to go straight away. Watch this.
Exactly, but
this is going to happen.
They're trying to get to people like you. Exactly,
Yeah.
you know, they're trying to give you like stick around because this shit's going to start happening.
Yeah.
You know, and that's. I get what you mean. Like I could have done without that.
Yeah, I don't. Think,
but then, if you are someone that wants it all to be like you've got to grab them straight away, then you need to have that stuff in there.
Yeah, I agree.
And like the ending of the episode is pretty like, wow, what the fuck, you know? Like,
so how does it end again?
Well, I'm not
no, of course, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say yeah.
No, but it was good. It was, you know, I'm interested. I'm interested to go back and watch it.
It's also got Linda Cardellini, who you might have seen in Freaks and Geeks. I haven't watched all of Freaks and Geeks. I've only just started watching it about a month ago. I probably watched the first 3 or 4 episodes. Now that is a show I think maybe written, but almost certainly produced, I think, by Judd Apatow.
Okay.
And it has a very young James Franco and a very young Seth Rogen.
Okay, right.
And I think this is where all of those guys kind of came together and started their kind of relationship that's continued on into all of their films and stuff like that.
Is it not one of these new frat pack?
Yeah,
things?
I guess it's that generation's version of that. But I mean, you could look at it as, I guess, as being, you know, that period's sort of Breakfast Club, I suppose. It's set in a high school, and it's the sort of trials and tribulations of these kids, and it's quite funny.
Is it the same sort of thing that would Jonah Hill be part of that sort of group?
I think if he was older, he would be.
Yeah, because I like him.
I think he's a bit younger than those guys, so he's not around at that point. Although he may pop up later, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen him yet, and obviously the last person we should mention in Bloodline is Sissy Spacek.
Yep.
She hasn't, in that first episode, had too much, but I suspect there's going to be much more meaty action for her later on.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't get an actress like Sissy Spacek
to
be in something like that if you weren't going to utilise her.
Not willy-nilly. I think it's going to be interesting to the relationship with her and the husband.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, the father is played by Sam Shepard. He's kind of... I couldn't quite work out what to make of him.
No.
I didn't really like him. No. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
And at those points, the thing that you talked about feeling sympathy for that character, when he was dealing with his father, I think I did feel some sympathy for him then, because I just thought...
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a little anecdote that he shares with one of the brothers that made the father not sound so great.
No.
But they didn't divulge too much about it. They didn't go into any detail about that. But yeah, I thought there's some really very unnerving moments in it. Ben Mendelsohn, he's just... I'd love to know what he's like off camera.
Yeah.
Because if he's nothing like that, then it's an incredible... He delivers incredible performances.
It's subtle. It's not like, you know...
No,
it's
not
subtle.
loud.
He's
not Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
He's not like... Or Al Pacino chewing everything up. But there's...
He says little, actually.
Yeah,
sometimes less
just
is more.
very quietly makes you feel very uncomfortable. And obviously, if you've seen Animal Kingdom, that obviously helps his performance, because I can't look at his face or hear Air Supply's I'm All Out of Love without getting a little bit creeped out.
Sign of a great actor, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to watching. I mean, if we hadn't said that we were going to do 1 episode a week, then I probably would have watched about 5 episodes last night, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think if you're unsure about whether to dive in on that, you probably should do that. So this week I went to see the latest and possibly, and hopefully not, but last Studio Ghibli film, which is called The Tales of Princess Kaguya. It's based on a Japanese folk tale. I think it's called The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter, that's right. And it's directed by Isao Takahata, and he hasn't, apparently, according to the font of all knowledge, Wikipedia, hasn't directed anything since 1999 for Ghibli anyway. And it's a really... I wasn't sure about this film before I went to see it, because I'd seen the animation style and I wasn't sold on it. You know,
it looks very different. Yeah,
it's very, very different to the rest of Ghibli's films. They tend to have a very, very clean and beautiful animation and artwork style. And the artwork on this is much more...
80s looking, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's kind of like the closest thing that I could compare it to in the West in terms of the art style for this film is kind of like the sort of Snowman, like the Raymond Briggs kind of thing. And I wasn't sure that I would enjoy that, but I'm a massive Studio Ghibli fan, so I thought I'm definitely going to go and see that.
It looks like BFG as well, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, but I think BFG is probably a little bit cleaner still than that.
Yeah.
It's as sort of ragged or rough as the Raymond Briggs things, and I was wrong about that. I shouldn't have had any misgivings because it's absolutely beautiful, and there's a particular sequence that myself and the two people that I went to see it with, we all, when we came out of the cinema, said, "What about that sequence?" And that sequence isn't particularly amazing technically, I suppose, or not groundbreaking or anything, but it's a very the abstracted kind of ragged artwork really lends itself. Basically, there's a scene where one of the characters is running away from somewhere,
right,
and it's just spine tingling. It's beautiful. It's very abstracted, but all of the, even within that abstraction, it's so expressive. You get all of the gestures of her body, the way she's moving and everything. It's a really fantastic sequence, very haunting.
What's the premise of the film? What's the
premise of the film is that a guy who's a bamboo cutter is cutting bamboo in the woods, and he sees one of the sort of trunks shining.
Okay.
So he goes over to investigate, and then jumps back when this like stalk sprouts out of the ground, and a flower opens, and inside the flower is a tiny, tiny little, quite well formed child.
Okay.
Dressed in the sort of, I guess, dressed like a princess would have been in that period in Japan.
Okay.
And so he takes this small thing, like, because it's not a human. It's clearly not a human.
Oh, okay.
It's a fully formed child in the palm of his hand, basically. And then he goes home and decides to raise this child with his wife.
Okay.
But he believes that she's destined to be a princess, so he sets about trying to make that happen, that she becomes a princess. It's
nice.
It's quite scathing about the treatment of women, and I think particularly the the treatment of women in Japan. Which I believe is still quite a sort of male-dominated society, but yeah, it's a very good film and really very enjoyable. So yeah, if you're into animation, if you can bear watching animation, and you are a fan of Studio Ghibli, I'd definitely say check this out because it's well worth watching.
I mean, on the Ghibli front, it's we were talking about earlier on. It's Ghibli season film 4 at the moment. So there's classic films on there. I didn't realise Howl's Moving Castle was based on a British book.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, I did not know that.
I think there's a few of the Ghibli films that are based on source texts rather than just their own creation of stories.
So that was I was quite surprised.
Yeah, whose book is that?
It's a woman.
Ursula K. Le Guin, is it?
Not too sure.
Howl's Moving.
And that explains like the love story sort of angle, I guess, from the woman, the old lady. That's not the old lady.
Oh, Diane Wynne Jones. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I was
quite
surprised.
Yeah.
Great film.
Yeah, I really like that one. It's not one of my favourites though. I think they kind of. I probably need to watch it a couple more times actually, but I kind of found it a bit confusing, unusually. Like, even though their films are really, really strange, I don't often find them confusing as to what's happening. But with that film, I did actually find it confusing. So
I like that one a lot.
Okay, so what have you been watching? Or
so I don't, the stuff that I watch doesn't have quite as much depth.
Right.
Kind of like when we were talking last week about the horror swap.
Yeah.
I went back and watched. Maybe you want to watch Army of Darkness, which is like the third Evil Dead.
Okay, that's the one with all the skeletons in, right?
Yeah, hilarious, absolutely fantastic.
I don't think I've watched that
Black
one.
comedy.
Yeah.
Very schlock horror.
So is that where? Hang on, at the end of 2, does he not come up in that land with those things?
Yes.
And then so 3 is him in that land.
Yeah, him in the land trying to get home. He basically goes in this whirlpool in the sky.
Right.
And
As you do.
The book of death.
Yeah.
And he ends up landing in like medieval England.
Right.
I think it is. Yeah. And it's just him dealing with his time there. It's he's a bolshy American. Hey buddy, don't you look at me like that. Put your spears away. Very funny, great. I think great kind of schlock effects. You know, Sam Raimi's him perfecting his. Do you know, like his nerdy side? And that's great. And I think it's a classic film, and I think everyone should watch it. It's not deep. It's horror, action, comedy. Bruce Campbell, I said before, I'm a big fan of. He's.
Is that on Netflix?
It was.
Oh, I
I'm
might
not
have to
sure.
check that out then.
Not
Because
sure
I've watched
if
the
it is
first
still.
two now, so I should probably watch the
It's
third one. Because
funny.
everyone does make a big deal about them.
It's silly. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's great. I watched it and it kind of made me want to watch it again. It's just light-hearted. So that's really good. And another great film with Bruce Campbell is Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, I keep meaning to watch that. I haven't got around to watching it yet.
Great film.
Yeah.
He's. I mean, I can say this because it sells it on this.
Isn't he like an Elvis?
No, he is Elvis.
Oh, he's actually Elvis.
He's
okay.
Elvis.
Yeah.
He's Elvis, and he swapped. He didn't want to be Elvis anymore, so he swapped his life with an Elvis impersonator.
Okay.
And he's living in this retirement home, and
Right.
he's ill.
Okay.
I mean, he's got.
Yeah, I heard something about pus. A lot of pus.
Yeah, and he's kind of got like a walking frame and stuff like that. But it's funny. He's brilliant, and anyone that could play an Elvis is Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't watch that this week. But you should check it out.
Yeah.
Basket Case.
I watched that as a teenager.
It's still the same. It's still good. It is what it is.
Really?
Silly.
Yeah.
Kind of gory.
Yeah.
But the premise of Basket Case is conjoined twins.
Yeah.
So a guy, normal, if you want to do that, and he has a brother growing on the side of him.
Okay.
There's a monster. He's just arms and a kind of a head.
Okay, like Quarto.
Yeah, it's kind of thing. So he's got kind of like that, and they separate. His parent, the mum died at birth. The dad wants them separated because they just want to freak.
Yeah.
And basically doctors separate the two. And they think that the deformed brother is Delisle is dead. They chuck him in a bin bag.
Okay, as you do.
You do.
Yeah.
But the other brother is very attached to him still. So they can. The brother Delisle, the deformed brother, can psychically speak to him.
Okay.
But the other brother can't.
Right.
And it's just their journey.
Through a killing spree.
Finding the doctors. I mean, it's sort of thing, you don't need to give away plotline because it's one of those things. There's no depth to it.
Yeah, you know there's going to be a lot of deaths.
It's gory horror,
Yeah.
It's 80s. And then I watched the second one, which is, so that's 82. The second one, which is it was 1990.
Yeah.
And it follows directly on from that, but obviously there's a big gap.
Yeah.
The young guy looks 10 years older.
Right.
And they are... being hunted down as murderers, obviously, and they find refuge in a house of a woman that looks after similar people.
Right, okay.
With deformities. And it's people's reaction to those sort of people going like, oh, you've got deformities, so you're a monster. Which is, which is not, the case. So we'll start to watch the third, but I fell asleep.
Okay, there's a third.
There's a third, yeah.
Wow.
And these films are all by the same director, Frank Henenlotter.
Okay.
And it's kind of the only thing he really did. He did these three, and he did another film called Brain Dead. Brain Damage? Brain Dead?
Not Brain Damage.
Brain Dead, maybe. A similar sort of thing. And he just disappeared. Well, he's not disappeared. He didn't like the fact that he gets called does movie films. He wanted to be exploitation.
Brain Dead is the Peter Jackson one.
What did he do? Put the Basket Case.
Hang on, what was his name? Yeah, Basket Case.
Yeah, Basket. On the Peter Jackson, have you ever seen Bad Taste?
Yeah.
Like, that's your first film, was it? I think that's
maybe.
Stupid.
Is that the one where the dude has his head kept together with why have I done that? Basket Jackson. That is not
Basket
what I meant
Jackson.
to
That sounds like an action hero from the 80s.
Isn't that the one where he has his head held together with a scarf in Bad Taste, or is that Brain Dead?
But I think that could be Brain Dead. Bad Taste is aliens.
So horrible. Bad Taste. Yeah, that's right. Where they're like they take over that house, don't they? And they're all eating that big bowl of gruel.
No, sick, isn't it? Or something like that. Yeah. Brain Damage. Oh, there you go. He hasn't done much, but he didn't like that he does. He doesn't like being told he does horror. He does exploitation.
Oh right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't imagine that somebody that made films like that would be so precious.
You'd think not, actually. But I think he's active in the 90s. I don't think he's done a great deal since.
I used to watch a lot of these films when I was a kid.
That's same here. That's why
I shouldn't have been watching them at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I don't know. Like now when I watch them, I'm just not. I need to go back and revisit. There are some that I would like to revisit. Like I definitely have seen Basket Case. I remember watching it, but I don't remember anything about it at all. What I did notice actually the other day on Netflix though, is that there is a film on there which terrified me as a child, and it's called Runaway, and it features Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons.
Oh my God, future cop Tom Selleck battles Gene Simmons, an evil runaway tough cop.
Yeah.
That I've got to watch that.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. You should check it out. Look at that cover.
That's amazing. Tom Selleck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there are robotic spiders in it
Brilliant.
that Gene Simmons controls, although controls very loosely. And if the spiders get you, they inject acid into you and kill you.
Amazing.
And there's loads of like other weird robot things and weird guns and stuff like that. I mean, it's from what year? Well, look, it's directed and written by Michael Crichton.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so 1984 that came out.
That's amazing. That's exactly the sort of film I'd like.
Yeah, so you should definitely check that out because that is. I'm going to rewatch that actually.
That
just
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I want to see how not terrifying it is at all now because I would have been watching that. I would imagine that I was watching that around about age 8 or 9, and I was very easily, and still am, very easily scared by things then. So it's not meant to be scary at all.
No.
It's just an action film. But I found those spiders terrifying.
It does look brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, I think everyone should make an effort to watch Runaway because people don't talk about it enough. I'm like, how can you? I don't understand. I mean, maybe I'll find out why when I rewatch it, and it's probably awful. But it's a film with Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons, and hardly anyone ever mentions it.
I've not heard of that. It looks the sort of thing I'd love.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see Gene Simmons playing a bad guy?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
I think when I grew up, I had a paper round, and so I always used to spend my money on the local market.
Yeah.
You could buy films for like £3, and they didn't care how old you were. So that's why I love tacky horror films because I'd buy them and they were brilliant, and I loved them for their tackiness, and I didn't want anything deep. I just and that's why I kind of want to go back and revisit Basket Case and stuff like The Imp and things like this. I think it's it's great memories of going down to this market store and buying whatever I could buy that week. But on the note of news, maybe or horror, Rob Zombie. Are you familiar with Rob Zombie?
He's from a band, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which band is that? I can't remember.
White Zombie.
That's it. Yeah.
So it's very much like Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails.
He does a lot of really, really graphic, grim horror films, doesn't he?
Well, this is it. Well, he's done a couple. Really big fan. So you had House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
Kind of slasher sort of film.
Yeah.
Really good. And its sequel, which was The Devil's Rejects. Both on Netflix, they were.
Okay.
If you like that sort of thing. He's also he's a heavy metal, hard rock a musician in his own right, solo act, and released several albums. But he's released a still from his new film.
Okay.
It's called 31. So it's just a still at the moment. It's news. I think it's a Kickstarter type thing.
Okay.
I've read it's a Kickstarter thing. So that's and it looks creepy. It's kind of demonic clowns.
Okay.
I mean, visually it's always great. It looks fantastic. His films.
Well, it looks like it's got a distributor.
Yeah, so that's good. Hopefully it comes out soon. I mean, these are the images of kind of clowns. A family of clowns, I believe, or something. I don't know. I've not read too much into it. But, I mean...
I will probably not be watching that.
It's the sort of thing, it's probably what in 20 years' time, someone will probably talk about this the way we're talking about Basket Case.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's not going to blow your mind. They're just good films.
It looks quite scary.
It's more gory than these films.
Okay, it says 5 people on IMDb. It says 5 people were kidnapped on the days leading up to Halloween and held hostage in a place called Murder World. Murder World.
Come on. See, the great thing about a lot of being metal and horror fans, you just permanently stay about 14 years old. So you would come up with things called Murder World.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Malcolm McDowell's in it.
Yeah. Sherry's Moon Zombie, which is his wife. She's in all of his films.
Okay.
I think it could be good. But, I imagine you're not going to be blown away. It is what you get. But I'm excited for that.
Right. Well, I think that's everything for us next week. We will be talking about the next episode of Bloodline, which I'll probably watch this evening now.
I'll watch it at some point in the weekend.
Which is good. And hope you all have a good week. And if you want to let us know about anything we should watch or...
Yeah.
Let us know, give us a shout. You can contact us on hellonotdeadyet@gmail.com and you can follow us on Twitter at hellonotdeadyet.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. And if you're on YouTube, then click subscribe. See you later.
See you later. Bye.
That's lucky. I'm guessing that red light
The battery is
the battery. We've done way more than last week.